Whoa. Mm. Well, good evening, good people. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. I hope everybody's had a great day. Let me say, sending prayers to one of our fans, Glimmerman. I feel you, buddy. He just lost his dad on Wednesday, and I understand, and a lot of you understand losing a parent and losing a loved one. And as you get older, it's one of those things you have to deal with. I often say I'm old, and I don't say that to be for people to say, "Oh, well, you're cutting down on yourself." I actually look at my gray hair and my age as experience because I've seen a lot of things. I've seen a lot of things that most of you I know have not seen because I saw, although I don't remember the game as much as I remember my dad, but the Cowboys losing to the Colts in their very first Super Bowl. I am going on 60 years of age, and getting old does suck because, going to the eye doctor today, getting my eyes checked out, blood pressure getting up, hard to take to lose weight and everything else. You just all of a sudden you're walking and all of a sudden something just locks up and starts hurting. You got pains in places that you never knew you had. So all of you, when you turn 50, understand your warranty is out then, and that's when shit starts breaking down. But I'm gonna keep on going until the wheels fall off of this sucker. But I've seen so many things with the Dallas Cowboys. I have seen them at their very best, and I've seen them at the very worst. I can remember the 1-15 season and having the joy of beating the Washington Redskins, which were playoff bound. I can remember winning against the Miami Dolphins, and I can remember the Orange Crush and John Denver singing Rocky Mountain High for um, the Denver Broncos with Craig Morton as the quarterback, who was a former Cowboys quarterback during their first Super Bowl season, and him and Roger Staubach um, literally passing each other like two ships in the night as Tom Landry tried to start both of them in a game. Roger come in, Craig would go out, and that didn't work, and so he left. I can remember losing to the Steelers twice. I can remember watching the Dallas Cowboys lose the innovations that Tom Landry had, and literally watching the legends and heroes get old and the team just become a losing enterprise. And then there was Jerry Jones coming through with Jimmy Johnson and rebuilding it, winning three. I've seen all that. I've seen Jerry firing not one, but two of the greatest coaches the Dallas Cowboys ever had. Both of them. How crazy is that? And then we hold on to Jason Garrett for 10 years. Go figure. I've seen all of that over and over again. And I have to say, either this is the greatest mind freak that anybody's done to a fan base, or it might actually be okay to feel good about the Cowboys. The Cowboys, as I said, I'm old. I can remember after the Super Bowl years, the team getting old, Chan Gailey being the coach, and then, God, I don't know why I can never, I'm getting old and I'm getting forgetful. But the 3 years of 5-11 that brought about desperation, where Jerry Jones brought in Bill Parcells. And with Bill Parcells, they went out in free agency. That was probably the golden time of the Cowboys trying to do stuff. I mean, they went out and they said, we got to get a quarterback. They brought in Drew Bledsoe. They brought in Terry Glenn. They brought in like T.O. You know, we ended up taking care of and trying to save all of our players because we were signing like the Jay Ratcliffes and the Terrence Newmans to their contracts and holding on to uh, Miles Austin, and signing Marion Barber to the big fat juicy contract because they're trying to keep that team together. And they actually collected with Tony Romo as the quarterback 13 Pro Bowlers, and not just on the offensive side. We had guys like Brady James and Terrence Newman and DeMarcus Ware and Spencer, Jay Ratcliffe out there. We had Jason Witten in his youth. We had T.O. I mean, we had monster teams. Marion Barber and Julius Jones. I couldn't remember Julius Jones earlier. That was the original Thunder and Lightning that we had because Marion Barber was a beast. He was a short yardage guy, pound the middle, soften it up. And then you had Julius Jones, who was your speed back. And see, that worked real well when Zeke still had a little bit in the tank and you had Tony Pollard on a cheap contract. That was your Thunder and Lightning again. And I think we got that going on now with Mustafa and Blue Mustafa, okay? Thunder and Lightning. We got the speed back that can catch the ball and all that, and you got a guy who can pound the rock and soften up the middle. But with the Cowboys having gone through that and signing Brandon Carr was like the end of that era. Because once we signed Brandon Carr, we really didn't do much of free agency except Greg Hardy, which is really a rebound. But for the most part, the whole time, I have to say, and you guys will argue with me, I'm sure, with what Mike McCarthy ended up having to deal with, he did a lot better than he should have. Check it. Check and tell me, what did the Joneses ever do in the whole time that Mike McCarthy was here to help this team get better? Their free agent signings, now we got lucky with Kayvon Turpin and Terrence Steele, but the Cowboys, they let go more talent than they brought in. Literally. Biotish, Lyle Collins, Tyron Smith, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, Connor Williams. You know, the list goes on and on of players that were good players. Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, you know, Stephon Gilmore. We constantly were just getting rid of guys and never replacing them with players of the kind other than drafted players. Until finally, and if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm kind of looking at the Cowboys with a side eye and saying, damn, trade for me was the middle of the season with Jonathan Mingo. You go in the offseason when it's time to coach him up, you go out and get Pickens. You know, in my time, you let go Dante Fowler. You bring him back. You bring him back for Brian Schottenheimer. Only people you brought back with me are like Zeke. You know? It's like, what gives here? Why couldn't I have guys like that to coach? You know, when I got here, you already had the offensive coordinator and most of the coaches in place and basically said, here's your coaching staff. Here it is. Brian Schottenheimer gets to go out and get all his guys. It's a different team. And maybe you can have a little bit of hope. Now, just understand that. Understand, I don't want to have to say we can't have nice things because some of y'all go too crazy. Y'all go too crazy. You go from, man, I'm done with this team. This team sucks. They ain't going to do nothing until Jerry Jones is gone and out of here. And then we make a move or two. And then all of a sudden, we go to the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl. No. Don't do that. Don't set yourself up for the pain. Be happy that the Dallas Cowboys have basically gone through and gotten younger. The old dogs are gone. The Jason Garrett era, the only one that's left is Dak Prescott. We went from a 30-year-old, 31-year-old Zach Martin to like a 22-year-old Tyler Booker. We go from a D-Law who's like 31 years old to a um, Easy who's like 22, 23 years old. We go from a Brandon Cooks who's like 31 to a George Pickens. We have gotten a young team, a young group of guys who now have to learn to become a cohesive team along with the coaching staff that's all new. So don't set expectations of saying everything is going to be great and we're going to be a Super Bowl team. Be happy that we actually have talent to work with. Be happy that the Cowboys are moving differently. Be happy that we actually have cash for once to make some moves. But don't go overboard. That's all I say. That's all I say. You know, the saddest part about all the moves and things that are going on, when I look at the draft and say, okay, we got a stud guard, man, we got a excellent pass rusher, a cornerback, we got some running backs, is just like Glimmerman, is I find myself wanting to pick up the phone and call and talk to my dad about it and tell him why this year could be better than it was last year. But can't do that. Can't do that. And this is where you realize time is short, Cowboys. You don't have forever to get these things right. And that's why I hope that this is not the end of getting George Pickens. This is just the beginning of the Cowboys beginning to act like a regular football team and getting their shit together. And that's all I have to say about that. So, remember, good people, tell the people you love how much you love them. You just might not get the chance again, and I love you guys. And I'm trying to figure out, are we going backwards? Because it's cold out here tonight. Look, I can see. I know what you're saying. I was going to say, I can see my breath. I know somebody saying, yeah, because you got that dragon breath. You see your breath is 90 degrees outside. Love you guys. And God willing, we'll all be here tomorrow. Peace.